2024, one French trader bet $80 million that every poll was wrong. The poll said the American election was a coin flip. The experts said no one could call it. And this one man, former banker sitting in France, a man nobody had ever heard of, quietly sold off almost everything liquid he owned and pushed it onto one side of the table. If he was wrong, he was finished. If he was right, he would make more money in a single night than most hedge funds make in a year. He was right. He walked away with roughly $85 million. But here's the question that should bother you. He didn't win because he was lucky. He won because he knew something the polls didn't. Something you could have seen too, sitting right there in the open, on a website most people had never used. So what did he know? And there's a darker question underneath it. If one man's money can move the number that the whole world is watching, what is that number really telling you? This is the story of prediction markets. By the end, you'll know whether they're the sharpest forecasting tool ever built, or a casino wearing a lab coat. The honest answer is stranger than either. Start with what these things actually are, because it takes 30 seconds. A prediction market sells contracts on real events. Will this candidate win? Will this company hit this target by March? Each contract pays out at 100 if the thing happens, and 0 if it doesn't. So the price right now reads like a probability. 60 cents means the market thinks there's a 60% chance. That's the whole machine. You're not betting against the house. You're betting against everyone else's information. And the idea is old, much older than the apps. In 1503, people were placing bets on who would become the next pope. By 1884, there was organized election betting running through Wall Street, decades before scientific polling even existed. And historians found money wagered on some of those races rivaled half of what the campaigns themselves were spending. In 1945, the economist Friedrich Hayek explained why this works at all. Knowledge, he argued, is scattered across millions of people, each holding one little piece. A price is the only machine ever invented that squeezes all of those pieces into a single number. A prediction market just does that, deliberately, for the future. Hold on to that idea. A price that squeezes everyone's knowledge into one number, because in a few minutes, you're going to watch one Frenchman quietly break it. Across 5 American presidential elections, prediction markets beat 74% of nearly 1,000 professional polls. In the year 2000, an academic market in Iowa priced the final vote count to within half a percentage point. Google used them internally to forecast product launches. Eli Lilly used them to predict which drugs would survive development. Kalshi beat America's own derivatives regulator in court. And then came the biggest vote of confidence of all. In October 2025, the Intercontinental Exchange, the company that owns the New York Stock Exchange, put up to $2 billion into Polymarket, valuing it at $8 billion. Within months, that number was 9. So the case for prediction markets sounds airtight. Centuries of history, academic proof, the world's biggest exchange writing a $2 billion check. The crowd is wise, and the price tells the truth. Except, that's not what happened in 2024. And this is where the story turns. When Trump won and Polymarket took a victory lap, the market saw it when the polls couldn't. Analysts started pulling the trades apart, and what they found was uncomfortable. The market's famous confidence had a face. The French trader, the press called him Theo, hadn't just placed a big bet. Across at least 4 accounts, maybe as many as 11. His roughly $30 million of early buying grew into a position near $80 million. So large that analysts concluded this one man had single-handedly pushed the price. A meaningful part of what the world read as the market's wisdom was one man's conviction. And how did Theo know? This is the part I love. He didn't trust the public polls because he believed they were missing shy voters, people who won't admit who they're voting for. So he commissioned his own. He paid a major polling firm to run surveys in the swing states with one twist. Instead of asking people who they were voting for, ask them who their neighbors were voting for. Give people permission to stop performing. The neighbor numbers came back completely different from the public polls. So he wasn't reading the market's wisdom. He was overriding it with better private research that he paid for himself. Hold that thought because it breaks the romantic story in half. The wisdom of crowds On Polymarket, an estimated 3% of traders account for the majority of price discovery. 3%. The other 97% are mostly noise, and the money tells the same story. 0.1% of accounts collect 67% of all the profits, while more than 70% of users lose money. Read those two numbers again and ask yourself what this market actually is. It's not a crowd pooling its knowledge. It's a tiny group of professionals, whales like Theo, being paid by everyone else for their homework. So is the price still information? Yes. And this is the twist that most critics miss. The price is real. It's just not the wisdom of the crowd. It's the wisdom of the few, purchased in public. When you look at a prediction market, you're reading the private research of people who bet millions on being right, for free. That's genuinely valuable. Theo's $80 million was, in effect, a published poll with real conviction behind it, weeks before the election. But before you open an account, you need to hear the other side of the ledger. Pause, because these platforms have a record. In January 2022, American regulators fined Polymarket $1.4 million for operating unregistered and ordered part of it shut down. The company has been caught changing the terms of markets after people had already bet. Think about what that means in a casino. The table pays out, and then the house rewrites what the bet was. Later, the Wall Street Journal reported something worse. Polymarket had been paying content creators to show off simulated trades, fake wins, staged on lookalike versions of the site, and promoting content that taught users how to trade on insider information. A platform whose entire product is truth, manufacturing fake evidence that ordinary people were winning. And who wins on it isn't ambiguous. Remember, 70% of users lose. Most of what's traded there now isn't even elections. Roughly 63% of the volume is sports. And manipulation isn't hypothetical either. Back in 2004, on an earlier platform, a trader sold so many contracts on George Bush's re-election that the price briefly said there was a 0% chance he'd win. A raid designed to move headlines, not to make money. The referee has conflicts too. After the political wind shifted, the American president's own son took an advisory seat at Polymarket. At the same time, his investment firm put money into it. The company being regulated and the family doing the regulating on the same side of the table. Genuine tool or trap? Here's the verdict. It's both. It just depends on which side of the screen you sit on. If all you ever do is read the odds, prediction markets are one of the best free information sources on earth. The price is a running summary of what the most committed, best researched money believes, updated every second. Centuries of evidence behind it. Reading the odds costs you nothing, and it would have told you more about 2024 than the front page of any newspaper. But the moment you start betting, understand exactly who you're sitting down with. You are not joining a wise crowd. You are taking the other side of trades from the 3%, people who commission their own polls, who work in financial services, who treat this as a full-time job. The house isn't the enemy. The whales are. The numbers say that 7 times out of 10, you are the one funding their winnings. Theo understood all of this. That's why he didn't trust the market. He replaced it. The people who lose are the ones who mistake the scoreboard for the game. So here is my question. If you had Theo's neighbor poll data in October 2024, would you have had the nerve to sell everything and bet it? Or is that exactly the trap talking? Tell me in the comments. I read them. One last thing. This is education, not financial advice. Prediction markets are gambling in most of the ways that count, and the numbers in this video show most people lose. Learn from the whales. Don't feed them.